be settled permanently. We are also campaigning for undocumented migrants who are currently in the UK and have been living here for less than 5 years to be given a right to remain, similar to the pre-settled status in the EU settlement scheme that will allow them to apply for settlement, indefinite leave to remain, after they reach the same period of continuous residence of 5 years, just like the EU settlement scheme. No human is illegal. Regularised status must be granted to all and a secure pathway to citizenship. Our focus is on solidarity by ensuring that we amplify the voices and needs of undocumented migrants. We are centred around and informed by those with lived experience, which brings us to the reason why we are gathered here today. This protest has been called by a grassroots group of migrants, Voices of Immigrants UK, who have, along with other various groups, been campaigning for rights to be granted for undocumented people living in the UK. We are here today to support all undocumented people in the struggle for rights. Today coincides with a debate in Parliament that is happening as a result of a petition that got over 100,000 signatures. This petition, set up by activist Mina Ali, is urging the UK government to immediately regularise the status of undocumented migrants who are living in the UK by granting them rights to live and work here and be able to attain citizenship, as many have suffered throughout this crisis. The struggles of undocumented people did not start with this pandemic. It has been years, decades of sustained suffering that has been exacerbated by this pandemic and crisis. Undocumented people are members of British society, but are forced to live in the margin and in the shadows due to the UK government's exclusionary policies that force people to live precarious lives. During this pandemic, people lost work and were unable to access any governmental support. People worked on the front line as cleaners, care workers, meaning they continue to travel, putting themselves at greater risk. But on many undocumented people, their housing situations were more likely to be overcrowded, putting them at greater risk of contracting COVID-19. People who had visas lost their status, highlighting how easily one can become undocumented. People were more likely to be scared to come forward to access healthcare when they had COVID-19 symptoms, due to the fear of being asked for documents. However, it has also been a pivotal moment where the reality of their struggles have been thrust into the spotlight. At 6:15 p.m, MPs will debate on a petition urging the government to implement an immediate and urgent regularisation of undocumented people. Whatever the outcome of the debate, we want undocumented people to know that you are not alone, and we will continue to fight this fight together. We will now commence with our programme of speakers. I'd like to introduce someone speaking from Voices of Immigrants. Perhaps.
Thank you very much for everybody attending this small avenue. This is not small. This is representing 1.5 million people who are living, hiding themselves in the shadows. While tonight speech at Parliament starts around 6 o'clock, we want them to feel the agony, the sorrows, the pitiful, the miserable life of all these people. Now the petition is in Parliament. 100,000 signatures have been signed. Let this voice of illegal, undocumented migrant be echoed in the Parliament. Let's Home Office show their miserable performance. It costs taxpayer £7,500 to deport one illegal migrant out of UK. And it is not politicians' money, it is our money, it is the British taxpayers' money. Because they're hiding their shortfalls, hence they're trying to grab their votes by just saying that we're trying to cut down the net migration rate. All we're saying that 1.5 million people, if they get sort of legal status, they will be active part of the economy. All we're saying that let them stay here, apart from those who got a criminal record. very simple. It's not a brainer. It's a very simple. Simple fact is that give them sort of status because you can't deport them. It will take you 135 years to get them out of the country because that's how slow you are. So why you don't make them part of the economy, part of the normal living human being? Very, very simple. There's a no-brainer because you are a politician, you are hiding behind the parliament. With 1 million people from Hong Kong, you feel their miseries, but you're not feeling the miseries of somebody who's already in the UK. Very simple. Why? Because you are politician, you are making a mockery of the system. Very simple. These are the simple facts which British people need to understand. You ran the Brexit campaign on the false pretenses. You got the Brexit, right? Why can't you do these 1.3 million people? Give them simple rights. They're not criminal. They want to be part of the economy. They are simple, normal living beings. Trust me, they will take this country to the next level, right? Don't get the reputation of someone who humiliate human rights. Priti Patel has started so many political campaigns, right? She's trying to deport trying to asylum seeker before they get to the country. The whole Europe is laughing. That's not the reputation of England. That's not the reputation of Great Britain. This is global Great Britain. You are the human champion. That's what you've been known for. Just because Priti Patel wants, that's not mean the whole of Britain wants, right? Let them, okay, you are welcoming more and more people to the country. You are welcoming them, right? But give them sort of status who are already in the UK. It's a very simple. That's all I got to say. If somebody still got any problems, speak with us, speak with Regular Rice. I'm very thankful to JCWI. I'm very thankful to Regular Rice. I'm very thankful to so many other channels and so many other human beings who are raising their voices for these people. So please be part of this peaceful protest campaign and be the voice of the one who never ever heard in this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much for talking. Just before I hand over to the next speaker, if you need any help registering with a GP, there is Francesca who has cards that explain how to register at GP and where you can do that. So please go to her and grab a card from her. I also just want to remind everyone, no human is illegal. Like I really understand that people like to use this language, but it's really important. We know that as everyone here. And I'm going to pass on to Helen from Gabriella.
Okay, ठीक है, thank you. मैं बाकी जगह पे चलो ठीक है.
Sorry. Okay. Anna's actually going to be speaking, so I'll pass on to Anna.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Anna from Kanlungan Filipino Consortium and Filipino Domestic Workers Association, Gabriela, London. We know that with COVID, no one is safe until everyone is safe. Undocumented migrants has been worst impacted by the pandemic. No access to sick pay and no support scheme rolled by the government. And the government cannot guarantee the firewall between health and immigration status data. Even the GP, we are seen by the GP, we want promise that they didn't reported us to the Home Office to face the deportation and the detention. We need our status now to protect ourselves and to protect everyone around us. Thank you.
So the next speakers are running a little bit late, so I'm going to pass on to Don from Status Now Network. Don?
Thanks a lot, everybody. And my hearty congratulations for everybody here who's managed to make it here today. I'd like to say that on a sunny evening like this, you've all got better things to do. But in truth of fact, there is nothing better to do than to take out on a sunny evening in order to fight for the rights of migrants. So, welcome. Congratulations on doing that.
Only TikTok
And we are
बंद हो
not the
गया
only people who are doing
बंद हो
this
गया
here today. This is just one of several events which are taking place across the country. I know there are similar demonstrations taking place in Manchester, in Coventry, in Glasgow, and probably in other places as well, for exactly the same reason, in order to bring to people's attention this very important debate that's taking place in Parliament today. I think we ought to try and situate that debate in order to understand the real significance of it. Because British society has been going through a very steep learning curve over the course of the last few years. I date the beginning of this to 2015, when we found out exactly what was happening on the Mediterranean, how the immigration control systems which were coming into place across Europe were leading to the deaths of hundreds and thousands of people. When this became obvious to people in Britain, they responded with mass demonstrations, the first ever mass demonstrations in solidarity with migrants. Over 100,000 people in this city alone coming out and marching in solidarity with refugees on the Mediterranean. Since then, the learning curve has continued. We've learned all about the hostile environment. We've learned how it operates in relation to the Windrush generation. People who aren't even migrants, people who have lived in the country for 40, 50 years, people who've raised families, who've paid taxes in the country. In some instances, people who were born in the country. But the state of the hostile environment is that we've got an immigration control bureaucracy which is absolutely incapable of distinguishing between the so-called illegal migrants and the legal migrants. And the effect of this is that we are all in danger. We are all in danger of the immigration control system which has been managed from that building there and that building somewhere over there in the Home Office. And we are continuing the work of maintaining the learning curve for British society. I'm here today representing Status Now Network, which some of you might know has been putting itself together over the course of the last 18 months. Something like 130 organisations from across the country have come together in order to sign a commitment calling for campaigns that will lead to the granting of regular, secure immigration status to immigrants. And I should also say, I think it's something that we ought to emphasise in this debate. We are not only talking about so-called undocumented migrants in this. There is other people here today have pointed out that that group alone amounts to around about 150,000 people. But I think in this category of people that we're fighting for, we also ought to include those millions of people who have some sort of a paper saying that they're legally entitled to be here, but they find themselves on a, in some instances, decades-long battle in order to maintain that state, where surveillance is maintained over their every move, where they're liable to be stopped and checked, where once every 30 months they have to report back to the Home Office and hand over hundreds and in some cases thousands in order to be able to stay in the country. These are people who, though notionally do have residence papers here, find that they are not entitled to the public services and the health service, the education, which they pay for in their taxes, just like the rest of us. This campaign is for them. And we say regular status for all. We are talking about everybody in that situation who wakes up each morning and wonders whether they are going to be stopped and checked today and have their right to be in the country challenged by whoever, an employer, a landlord, an immigration official. We are standing up for them. So I'm going to conclude on this point, comrades, because I think it really does have to be understood that we are not fighting here a marginal and peripheral campaign. The fight for migrants' rights goes right to the heart of everything that is wrong in society today, and not only British society. There is something in a region of a planetary population of around about 7 billion people. Around 1 billion of us are trying to exist in the world today under conditions which severely restrict them. And so 1 in every 7 people are dealing with this modern phenomenon of drastic immigration control, where their surveillance is maintained over them, their right to freedom, their right to free movement, their right to family life is being denied. We are fighting for them, every single one of them. They, to us, are not illegal immigrants or criminals. They are our friends. We welcome them here. Every refugees, migrants, family members, we welcome them here, and we will fight for them all. Thank you very much.
Just a sec. We're trying to. Oh. Is that? Oh, wow. Okay. Can everyone hear? Better? So now, because we're waiting for some people to arrive, so I'm going to ask Francesca to stand in and speak on behalf of Panlingham. I'm not sure how she's going to hold 2 microphones. We'll see. I'm going to try this. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all very much for... Are they both?
Let's say a prayer to everyone that started with the vaccine, thousands of people. It's so sad, isn't it?
Bye.
Well, to support this. It's good.
Thank you.
Refugees workers
Thank
are-
you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, is that
Thanks
better?
so much.
The vaccine is killing thousands,
Oh, sure.
including migrants, including...
Sorry, here. Okay. Is this okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Francesca. I'm from Kanlungan Filipino Consortium. We're a charity working to empower Filipino migrants across the UK. Our service users are nurses, they're healthcare workers, they're carers, they're cleaners, they are childminders. Some of them may be undocumented, some of them are not undocumented, but there's one thing that unifies our experiences is that the hostile environment policy is dangerous for migrants and the hostile environment policy kills. I'd like to talk to you about one story in particular to show you how lethal the hostile environment policy is in this country. And that's the story of Elvis. Elvis was a Filipino undocumented worker living with his wife, who was also undocumented. They'd been living and working in the UK for 10 years to support their families back home when COVID-19 hit Britain last year. He worked as a cleaner and he contracted COVID-19 in early April of 2020. Elvis died at home, in his bed, without any kind of medical treatment, without one seeking care from the NHS, from the hospital, or from a GP. He died at home because he wasn't adequately protected at work. He wasn't given PPE because as an undocumented migrant, he didn't feel comfortable advocating for himself and for his right to protection in the workplace. He died alone at home without medical care because in this country, it is a crime to be undocumented. He was so scared of registering with a GP, of seeking medical care, that he would rather risk dying alone at home than actually going to the hospital where he could have gotten life-saving care. For undocumented migrants, the NHS isn't a safe place of safety and health, it is for most of us. Because of the Tory government's hostile environment policy, it is the place you could be nursed back to health only to be sent to a detention centre and deported. For many, that prospect is worse than death. For many who are undocumented, the thought of being uprooted from a life they've built for themselves, to leave behind their loved ones and friends and community, and then sent to prison, and then sent back to a place they had long said goodbye to is unbearable. They would rather face death than deportation. Elvis died at home without medical treatment because this government's cruel policy is to alienate migrants from their health, their dignity, and their life. Kanlungan has evidence of many more undocumented Filipinos in the UK who were infected by COVID-19 and did not seek medical treatment out of fear of deportation. Many, like Elvis, died. Today, we remember them, we grieve them, we grieve for their families and their communities, we grieve for the opportunities that were stolen from them, for the hope of a better life that was broken. We grieve for Elvis and for those who have died whose names we do not know. These deaths will keep happening if the government continues to implement the hostile environment policy. David Cameron, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Priti Patel, their blood is on your hands. And we will not let you forget. Our community is dying behind closed doors, unseen by the rest of British society, shrouded under this veil of illegality. But no human is illegal. We cook your meals, we clean your toilets, we raise your children, we care for your elderly, and we condemn this government that punishes those that they deem illegal by marginalizing them to the shadows of society. This government has turned the education system, the NHS, council, social services into their watchdogs, denying migrants their basic human rights to healthcare, housing, work, and education. I support women who are survivors of domestic violence and who are migrants in this country, who cannot leave their abusive husbands because the council will not support them because they have no recourse to public funds. Their choice is to either run away and become undocumented and homeless, or to stay at home with an abuser. These are the choices that the government is forcing migrants to make right now. And all of this happens while the government ostentatiously and arrogantly breaks international law over Brexit and a quote-unquote migrant crisis as a way of distracting and dividing British society. But we see through this hypocrisy and it disgusts us. In the name of Elvis and countless other undocumented migrants whose lives have been stolen, we demand the end of the hostile environment policy and the regularization of all migrant workers now. Thank you. Maraming salamat po.
So our comrades from Zimbabwe Community United are good. Better? So our comrades from Zimbabwe Community United are now going to speak. So I want to hand over to John Burke. Yeah. You can clap.
Excuse me limping a bit, but we had a protest outside the Zimbabwean embassy on the Strand at 2 o'clock. And since then we also were going to hand a petition into the Home Office, which is over there, and we had to go the long way around. When we spoke to the psychopathic policeman there, they said, oh no, you've got to go back round the long way again. So with my poor Achilles tendon, quick, everybody please, Achilles tendon injury, this is the problem. Okay. So we're here to represent the Zimbabwe situation. I'm sure a lot of you already know that 150 Zimbabweans are currently being detained from the 5th of July this month. It's really, it's a sudden thing they've been doing. There's all the more reason why the Home Office refused to accept our petition. It was lying on the mat for a little while, and they refused to accept it because I only quoted people like Dominic Raab, who suggested more sanctions on Zimbabwe because of the ill treatment of Zimbabweans. But, you know, Amnesty International, the American Embassy, all the people who know what's going on the ground in Zimbabwe are not being listened to by the Home Office. And unfortunately, the Foreign Office, which is supposed to be written this information, is also deaf, dumb and blind to it. And they're looking at Zimbabwe with rose-tinted glasses. They only talk to the ZANU-PF ruling junta, and they will only give you propaganda. And our dumb, young civil service, embassy staff just suck it all up, and they believe it at face value. In fact, last year when they had the South Africans sent a delegation to Zimbabwe, and the South African delegation did not speak to the opposition parties or any human rights groups. They only spoke to the ZANU-PF ruling junta. Now, this is the problem we face specifically in Zimbabwe, and it's been going on for a mere 41 years. Now, the Zimbabweans in this country are now being victimised because of this, and it is victimisation, because Zimbabweans by their nature tend to be peaceful. In addition to that, they've been subjugated to violence and rape, torture and murder throughout their lives by their own government. If you don't support the ruling government in Zimbabwe, it's a death sentence. Now, there are a lot of countries around the world with a similar situation, but Zimbabwe happens to be one of the worst because they refuse to sign up to the Convention Against Torture, because it's one of their best methods of keeping in power, which they've managed to do for the last 41 years. Now, our government in the UK seems to, again, be deaf, dumb and blind to the obvious of what is going on in this country. So there has to be something going on behind the scenes that we don't really know. But that doesn't help any of the Zimbabweans here who have integrated, a lot of them integrated very well into the communities in this country. A lot of Zimbabweans work in the care industry. A lot work as nurses and doctors in the NHS. Yet they are denigrated now by the Home Office, who are going to blanket simply remove 100 a month. Now they've made an